Good afternoon. The special meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Cleveland.
Here.
Vice Mayor Perrine.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Present.
Commissioner Hartman.
Present.
Thank you.
Very good. For all that are watching remotely, Commissioner Perrine, Vice Mayor Perrine is with us remotely. Can you hear us, Valley?
I can.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Glad everybody's here. So this meeting is a special meeting to set the top limit of the millage. And so if there are any citizens who wish to speak, we'd like you to come forward. You'll have 3 minutes to talk. It's a monologue, not a dialogue. It's your opportunity to talk to us. Hopefully it'll be about the topic we're discussing tonight. You'll have 3 minutes, and when you come forward, your name and address for the record, please. Anyone for public participation? Leslie.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and staff. I'm here on behalf of my husband, retired City Commissioner Jake Sachs. He could not be here tonight, so he asked me to read the short letter and to submit it to the clerk with emails to the city from 2019. As a former commissioner, I strongly advocated for emergency traffic signals for Station 50 and 52. I am pleased and grateful that with the help of our city manager, staff, and of course our previous city commission, that New Smyrna Beach residents are safer due to the implementation of the traffic light at Station 50 headquarters. That emergency signal is providing a proven, safe, and quick response time when fire rescue is needed. When lives are at stake, seconds count. Seconds turn into minutes, and minutes seem like hours for those desperately waiting in need of fire and rescue services. Our quality of life is improved by the placement of emergency signals in front of fire stations. First responders will not be impeded or delayed as they leave the station. The Florida Department of Transportation has also approved an emergency signal for Station 52 on the beach side. It was deemed warranted and approved as a standalone traffic safety improvement. It need not nor should not wait for any additional development or infrastructure. It should be built on its own merits as a desperately needed traffic safety improvement. The light will make it less dangerous for fire and rescue apparatus to leave the station. It is incumbent that the city build this light as soon as possible. It is a long overdue improvement that was previously approved by the city and can be funded with transportation impact fees. I urge the Commission to move forward with engineering and building the emergency signal. Our citizens and the firefighters that protect us all deserve the best the city can provide them. During these budget discussions, remember that the light should not have to wait for a fire department ambulance to be eventually stationed there. The definition of first responder means just that. When that alarm sounds, very likely a fire pumper or ladder truck may respond first. There should be no delay in the arrival of essential emergency services, which our firefighters and paramedics so dutifully provide. Thank you. Respectfully, Commissioner Jake Sachs, retired.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate that. Is there anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed, and before I turn it over to the city manager to set this up, I believe the Assistant Finance Director, Shaliza Bola, will outline the budget presentation. The resolutions that follow her presentation will be considered for the adoption of the City Commission to set the tentative millage rate. There'll be two future meetings regarding the millage rate. The first one will be a budget hearing scheduled for the September 11th. Is to consider the adoption of setting the proposed millage rate, and then lastly, the second budget hearing will be scheduled for 24th of September, will be to consider the adoption setting of the final millage rate. And now, sir, set this up for us so we can proceed.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Commission. I cannot believe that we're already due to a budget cycle again. This year's budget was prepared based on the current millage plus the .22 that was committed 3 years ago, and this is the last year for the commitment. We have met with the departments previous to the preparation of the budgets with each department heads, and we went through the items line item by line item. What's included in the budget, it's the top priorities for each department. Now, you have a large list of unfunded items that it's included in here. Now, I just want to make sure that the commission understand there is nothing here that it's approved yet, because a lot of people, they think it's approved, but it's not approved until you have the second public hearing in September. The millage that we used is the 4.6370. That's the operating millage that we are proposing. So which means it's the current millage plus the .22. Now, when you go through the budgets and you look at the items that it's included in each department, again, it's the top priority that we selected, whether it's a capital equipment, capital projects, or personnel. We did not add as many personnel as was requested initially by the department heads. If you look at the current page 7 out of the PowerPoint, I wanted to use that because initially last year we used $276,000. I have asked the Assistant Finance Director to look at Zillow and look at the property appraisal. So we are using $477,000 plus for our taxes in this illustration. And you could see that the school board gets 29%, the county gets 40%, and we get 23% or 25% out of the taxes. So I just want to make sure that people understand that the entire taxes does not go to the city of New Smyrna Beach. So you got different agencies who collect the taxes before we receive our 25%. I want to have the Assistant Finance Director to go through some of the items that's within the PowerPoint. But keep in mind that we have a very healthy reserve. That does not come from nothing. So one of the commissioners have asked me, what is the reserve in 23 at this time and then 24? To my surprise, in 23, we had 7.92 above the required reserve, which is 25% of the budget. 2024 today, we have 10.3 million above the required from the budget, the 25%. So I just want to make sure that a lot of times what happens is some of you will look at the budget that it was approved at 130 million, for example, but then you look and you see the actual is 140 million or 135 or 137 million. But just keep in mind that when we have grants that was assigned to this project or to this item, when we put the item in the budget, we have to pay for the entire project, and then we get reimbursed. When we get reimbursed, it doesn't go back to the item, it goes back to the general fund. That's one. The second thing is we have encumbered purchase orders that you issue in this year. If you don't finish, they carry forward to the next year. So that's why you see a significant difference in the budget that was approved and the budget that you could see actual. So I just want to make sure that when people look at it, they see that and they go, oh my God. Now, again, I'm not saying that we didn't have any budget amendments during the year. I mean, obviously you do, because sometimes what happens is somebody comes to the commission, they wanted to do something that it wasn't budgeted. We have to do budget amendment to do that. So with that, I will have Shalisa to go over the PowerPoint, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I have asked her also, there were a couple of changes from the previous PowerPoints. I pointed that out to you during the briefings one-on-one, but also some of you have asked these capital equipment or vehicles, are they replaced or new? So I have asked Shaliza to put that on the PowerPoint as well, so you could see if it's a new or replacement.
Great,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that. And are there any questions or comments before we get started? I had one or two. Anybody? Colin, one of the comments you made was none of these have been voted on, and that's accurate. Did I hear you right that the funded items are written into the budget? That's in your calculations?
Yeah.
And the unfunded are also written in or not?
No, they're not.
Okay, very good. That's what I thought.
The current budget that you have proposed, with the current millage that we are proposing, anything that is in the unfunded list is not funded. Anything that's in the funded list, it is in the budget. However, again, that's not approved.
Still up for consideration by us, even if it's funded.
Exactly.
I get it.
So when you go to the budget workshop on August the 7th, you know, you might see an item there that you could say, well, you know, I don't want to do this year. I want to do it next year. I want to replace this item with another item. So that's it. But the unfunded is not included in the budget. These are items that I received from different departments that I did not include in the budget. But I just want to make sure that the commission sees this list.
What is the amount in the reserve today in total dollars?
Right now,
Yeah.
10.3 million.
Above,
20,
total?
20 million. 20.64 million.
Great, great. All right, I just wanted to have whole numbers. I know
And
that.
that mayor, I'm sorry, that mayor includes the 25% and the above.
I understand, I get it. I know, often talking through this, Commissioner Martin likes numbers rather than percentages, and I think that adds a bit of clarity, so I appreciate knowing that the big number is 20-some million dollars. That's good.
Well, typically it's 25% of your budget. So whatever your budget is, you have to have 25% of that, and we have so much on top of it.
Very good.
Just-
Ma'am?
Just to clarify, it's 25% of the current year's budget is the required reserve.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, and now Shaliza will outline the presentation, after which the city attorney will read items numbered 3, Bravo through Echo, and then the commission will vote separately on each of those resolutions. So with that, Madam, Mr. Beebe is in the room. The finance director is here. So for those of you watching, you may not see him on the screen. He's taking notes and has been participating fully through this. So we have the whole team here.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commission. So just kind of an overview again. We're presenting $138 million for this proposed budget, which includes 3.02 of capital equipment and 31.2 of capital projects. We have 10.5 new positions, a 3% overall salary increase, a 3.6% increase in healthcare, and a 7.8% increase for Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Shaliza, sorry for interrupting. Will you like questions at the end or as we go?
At the end.
At the end. Thank you.
So general fund, it's set right now at 52.4 million, Brennan Center at 647,000, and golf course at 2.3 million. We're proposing an operating millage of 4.637, the voted debt of 0.0194 to give us a total of 4.7284. And currently, our rollback rate, it's at 4.0813. So this one just shows a comparison of budget to debt. So we, as you can see, we are significantly greater than our debt. And on this slide, what I wanted to show here was this is our property value by class. So most of our property value taxes are coming from our residential at 83.59%. And then we've got agricultural, institutional, miscellaneous, governmental, and the second biggest one was commercial at 10.01%. So comparison of last year to this year, Last year, we had an operating millage of 4.41. This year, we're going to 4.63. That's what we're proposing. The 2005 debt is going to be sunset. The 2018 debt, we were able to reduce to 0.914. So showing that we've increased it by just the 0.22 or 0.24 basically.
Actually, so just, Mayor, if you go to that slide at the bottom, it shows that the 2005 debt set will set in fiscal year 2024. So I just want to make sure that.
So this one, like the city manager was saying earlier, I looked at the market value for New Smyrna Beach for homes, and 477,000 was about average. And I went onto the property appraiser's website and took what they're proposing as their taxable rates right now. So that's how I came up with this numbers, coupled with what we're proposing. So for us then, for that value of a house, from 2024 to 2025, you're increasing by operating millage, we're going to increase by $106. The 2005 debt will decrease, well, it would be zero. The 2018 would be a decrease. So they're moving from $2,248 to $2,259. So an overall increase of $11.66.
And that's per month.
Sorry. This is the same slide I showed the last time. We have not gotten up to date. So this is as of the beginning of 2024. Operating millage. Yet again, this was a slide we showed before. So general fund revenues broken down to property taxes, state revenue, utilities commission, public service tax, charges for services, franchise fees, and other sources, all totaling $52.4 million. General fund expenses, we just kind of showing in larger groupings, public safety, general government, leisure, sports complex, maintenance ops, and our interfund transfers have to total get $52.4 million. This one shows citywide expenses and comparison to what we've amended to what we're proposing. We're at minus 1.22% reduction so far. And here we go into the list of funded items. So because it's a PowerPoint and it was kind of difficult, for the funded items, I only marked off what was new. Everything else is a replacement. For the unfunded listing, I was able to go in and put replace or new on each of those items. So then we come to page 27, which on this one, we're just showing what is the value of a mill and what change or what projected revenue then it would create for us as a city. So if we were to add 1 mill to the 4.637, our projected revenue, we're looking at $34.8 million. If we were to add half a mill, we would be looking at $31.7 million, 0.25, $30 million, 0.1 or 1/10 of a mill, it's $29.2 million. Just to kind of give you an idea.
Hold on. And Mayor, the reason I added this specific slide is for one specific reason. As you could see, tonight you will be approving the tentative millage. which it's the 4.6370. Now, that's mean you cannot go any higher, but you could go lower. When we go to the budget workshop on August the 7th, I want to be able to give you some flexibility in case if you want to add any item to the budgets at that, after the workshop. If I don't give you any flexibility, you'll be able to do something. You might have to take item from the one that approved from the funded list or vice versa. But I want to be able to, which means if you add any of these to the millage right now, doesn't mean that you're going to approve that one, but it gives you the flexibility. My recommendation is to go between either the 0.5 or the 0.25, but if you ask me what is the top recommendation would be to add the 0.25 and make it less than, make it 4.9999. So that's when you're trying to approve the actual millage, then you either, you could lower it, you could add, you could subtract, but you have the flexibility to do that.
And just last but not least, just giving you a summary of it. So we're proposing 4.63 at 0.19 for a total of 4.724. And our next step is to provide our max millage to our property appraiser's office. Questions?
Thank you very much. Anything else, sir? Mr. Rashid?
No, I think it's, I just want to, we really have gone on this one here where we were trying to, if I had the chance to go to the rollback, I would have done that. But there is so many items that we have delayed from the previous budget, if you recall. We did not include, we said, let's include it in the next year budget. So that made it difficult for us to even go to the rollback.
Okay, so I'm sure there are comments and questions or enlightenment as we dig into this. So we'll test technology in a minute, but stand by, Vice Mayor, but Commissioner Martin's in the room, and so let's start there, and then we'll go to you and just see if we can get this moving.
Okay, probably just some clarifications. On the proposed budget overview, where you're listing the Brannan Center and the golf course, is that the cost to the general fund after revenue is received? Or we know that we subsidize both the Brannan Center and the golf course, and we know that we get revenue from both of those. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out whether these two numbers represent just the impact to the general fund, or is it the cost pre-revenue?
It's the total of their funds. So basically, they're expecting to spend $647,000 for Brannan.
And so we don't know what part of that, again, this is their expenses, is what you're saying.
Basically,
But it doesn't show it any revenue offset to their expenses?
there is a revenue offset.
Is that included in that number?
Yeah, so remember, we have to balance on both sides.
No, I understand. I was just trying to figure out whether this is the net hit to the general fund or whether this was a number that represented something else. In other words,
it's the total authorized expenditures, the number that you see there.
and I understand that. However, there are revenues that they receive.
Correct.
So I'm saying, is the expenditures pre or post revenue receipt?
Pre.
So it's pre-revenue receipt, so it's not really an accurate number of this general government. Because if it's pre-revenue receipts, then it's just larger. Okay. So, okay.
Have we got it right? And so
She's
it's the cost without any revenue, yeah?
All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I thoroughly expect you to have every single number absolutely memorized. There's only how many gazillions of numbers in there?
Right,
So it's definitely a memory test.
okay. So general fund is transferring into Brannan Center $302,000.
Okay, 302 is the expected hit on the general fund.
Right.
Okay,
And then for golf course, we're looking at $278,000.
okay.
So for revenues for charges for services then, for Brannan Center, we're estimating 345.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You just take
Okay.
this gross number minus the uncovered number,
transfers,
right?
yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay, next question. When we look at the taxable value by property class, do we have, we're back to my dollars, do we have a total property value in dollars? Because remember, you know, we're, if last year our taxable value was $100, is this year $105? Or, you know, what is our total taxable value?
The 7 billion, where do I have it?
7 billion and change?
Yeah,
We can work with that.
yeah.
And in 2023, what was it?
2023 was 6.36 billion.
6.36 billion. Okay, all right.
Well,
Yeah, we're
not-
just, I'm just trying to get a feeling for things.
Mm-hmm.
On the property taxes, let's again look at the total dollars. If we have that, what did we say, 7 billion property value, and we have the 4.7040 millage rate, what is the dollar value? And if we have the 4.7284, what is the total dollar value?
So this one, this is the dollar value for that 477 on this slide, page 8.
Okay, let's look at page 8. Are you looking at the property? Yeah, that's on a per unit basis. I was looking at a total citywide basis. So roughly, I would assume it's like 4.7040 times 7 billion.
Correct. Correct.
So, right, and the
Correct.
same with the 4.7284 times roughly
Correct.
7 billion.
So then you're looking at property tax of estimated at $32 million.
So 32 million at the 4.7040? And I know it's
At the
buried in here.
4.63.
4.63. Okay, is, what did we say, 32 million? I know it's buried.
32.5, yeah.
32.5 mil. And at the,
And then last year, we were at 28.1 at a millage of 4.4.
okay, at the 4.4150 times 7 billion.
Times 6.3.
I'm sorry?
Times the 6.3 billion. That was last year's.
Oh, I see what you're saying, right, okay. But if we're looking at the rollback, okay, so now we've got some numbers, okay. I'm almost finished. I think there was only one more. I think. I do know, and this comes from yesterday's meeting. I was just curious about the streetlights on Atlantic, what the dollar cost is for
It's,
that.
What you have here is 2.7. That is Canal and Flagler.
I understand,
Canal is 1.6,
okay?
and then South Atlantic is 1.1 million. Now-
1.1 mil
Now,
for South Atlantic.
yeah, but just keep in mind, that's an estimate. So
Oh,
that's not a, that's
we
an
all know,
exact.
it's all estimates.
So, but that's where the 2.7 coming from.
Thank you.
Sure.
And that's the list of my questions.
Okay, Commissioner Perrine, batter up. We're ready to see if the technology is as good as we think it is.
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, Khaled, during the briefing, we talked about the naming the sports complex for the LED lights. That's in the funded budget of 890,000. What I didn't ask, that was for like advertisement signs or marketing. Do you know or anticipate or have a business plan of how much of that 890 will be funded by this advertisements?
Well, they're working on the naming rights, the assistant city manager and also the legal service director. So I don't know if do you have any updated information, Ron, on this?
It's our intent to fund the entire lighting project through the naming rights program.
But
Say that again, Ron.
It's our intent to fund the entire LED lighting through the naming rights program. So no general fund revenues would go into that project.
But we do have that budgeted out of general fund or not at all?
Not at all.
Not at all, okay. The other thing is we have a lot of autos that are coming out of general fund this time, but we have $1 million in reserve for the fleet. I asked Colin if we could put off purchasing those autos this year and have them all come out of reserve next year, or drill down during our budget workshop and see if we can add a little more to that reserve to get that reserve account going instead of tapping into the general fund.
You have the funds.
Say some more about that, Valley. Your idea is to defer it a year, and then how does it involve the reserve account?
Well, I think we have enough in that coming out of the general fund for these autos that would help not having to go higher with our millage rate is what I was hoping for. We wouldn't need that cushion if we just did the bare minimum, because during the budget workshop, we can actually see Kevin's proposal and David's proposal on which cars are actually costing us money, and do the absolute necessary, but start using that fleet reserve that we have $1 million, 500,000 last year and 500,000 this year already set aside. We shouldn't have to tap general fund and add 500,000 to that reserve. If the cars are replaced at 8 years, why can't we look at that and get that started sooner so it's not hitting our general fund and millage?
So, Commissioner Perrine, the purpose for that reserve is to actually just allocate a portion of the money that's going to be used for the vehicle that was bought in that particular year. So for 2024, we allocated $700,000. Now that's just a portion of it. By the time the end of the life cycle of that vehicle, we should be adding every single year to that money. It's not going to fully cover in 1 year for one vehicle.
Is there a way we could do a catch up since we have this reserve already?
So
this 10 million over the reserve?
What I was actually chatting with the maintenance ops director, we're going to try and focus maybe on one division or a smaller amount of a number of vehicles to start this program with, and not really truly look at the entire fleet in this way and try to fund the entire fleet while also purchasing replacements at the same time.
So I could be the slowest guy up here, but I like her concept. Are you saying that the money would not be there, that we would not have enough in the reserve fund, that this represents only a portion?
Correct.
Of the number of
Because
vehicles?
we're supposed to be adding, so for the $700,000 we put in for this year, we need to add it for next year as well, plus whatever you're buying next year, so that in truth, you're adding $1.2 million really to next year. That's what we should have done. That's how the whole program, their intent of the program should be set up. So that's
right. And it's like an unfunded, or when you're not fully funded for your retirement, you do a catch up.
Right.
So I was considering versus pulling this out of the general fund, actually to know what that's going to cost us to get us to where do we need to be. How sure are we?
I am
Fleet
not
guy- I see
aware.
the fleet manager, I see Kevin here, and can you help us with that? Okay.
And Vice
And I know
Mayor,
you might not answer that, but if there's some way we could use that fleet reserve versus general fund, we wouldn't need to add more money to our millage rate. That's where I was going with that.
you know, Vice Mayor, just at the end of the day, the 500,000 or the $700,000, it's coming out of general fund to the restricted fund for the fleet replacement. So I mean, it's really, they're both coming out of general fund. But the idea was when we established the program was to establish the program and started where now you have a fleet management system that you could replace the vehicles as the life expectancy goes away. And I wish I could do what we talked about yesterday, but anyway, it's both coming out of general fund. So really, I mean, if we're going to do something, you got the healthy reserve. I mean, if you wanted to get that out of because it's a one-ticket item, you could purchase it out of the general fund reserve and take it out of this, so you would not increase the millage. You could do that.
Well, I like the idea of replacing the vehicles that are 8 years old and using the maintenance report that Kevin and David have with the cars that are costing us money versus, you know, at what point in time does that happen? And we saw that in one of our past budget meetings. But what I didn't see is I'm thinking that if we put 500,000 in this reserve last year and we have this 500,000 pegged for the funded budget this year, that's $1 million. I'm just questioning how much are we short to get to that number of year 8 of the cars that are going to be coming off that are needed to be replaced.
So I believe the maintenance op director will have something to present to you guys on the August 7th meeting.
Okay. Because the main thing I'm going to drill on that meeting is before we approve any new head counts to have HR and that director maybe give us a rundown and a justification for that. And those are all unfunded, so we're not really looking at that now. But also that fleet, how we're going to set that up.
And we'll do that at
That's
the 7th.
the only question.
And just so this way, I guess we're all on the same page. Right now, it's 1.2 million in that restricted funds for the vehicle replacement. So apparently it's 700. I think I mentioned to you 500. It's 700,000 this year and 500 for the coming budget. So 1.2 million.
Yeah, and we had the other question I had, we're replacing Flagler Avenue's lights this year with ARPA money. Well, we didn't have that luxury for Canal Street money because it wasn't voted on to be used with the ARPA funds. And the lights are older on Canal than they are on Flagler. So I don't know if we're going to need to set up a reserve for that or what we need to do instead of, I think you said instead of replacing all the lights on Atlantic Avenue and Canal, or instead of replacing a few, you want to replace them all, but we could start, you know, a fund, or when's the, you know, when do we actually have to do this where safety is, you know, in effect?
You know, setting up a reserve for that, I think that would be a good idea. However, you know, that is going to come out of general fund. So we're back to square one. But
I know.
if we wanted to, I think it's both of them, it's 2.7 million. So in order to replace them at a, I guess maybe in a appropriate time, you're looking at probably 2 years, which means you have to set up, the first year is $1,350,000 and another $1,350,000 in the following year. I mean, that's quite a bit. Again, you have the general fund reserve that you could use out of that one, and then pay it back if you want to, in terms of setting up like it's like you're actually taking a loan out of your own funds.
My biggest fear is that the ARPA estimate for Flagler Avenue was made, but we may go way over budget on that and have to come out of general funds. We don't know if that's going to be the exact amount because they're actually not replaced yet.
Yeah, that's
Mayor,
right.
There's been so much work done on Flagler. Two things. Could I jump in on the lights? First of all, the ARPA funds, because as we know, Canal Street's already spent their portion of the ARPA funds. And David's here with a complete rundown of the cost for the Flagler. The South Atlantic, and I'd like to have Eric weigh in on this, we have huge spots of blackness on Atlantic North and South. These are dangerous stretches of road, and I think we've had concerns about safety with those, and they have been out for quite some time, and it's a real safety hazard. So we've got two people here that could weigh in on if we want to take on the lights on Flagler and Canal, but maybe we'd prefer to do that at the workshop.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
But
that's-
just as a clarification, Commissioner Martin, the funds for ARPA for Canal Streets were not for the lights. Those were for just an improvement. So I just want to make sure because.
And that's fine, yeah, but since the ARP funding was brought up.
No, but
Just because
I
we
just want to
haven't.
make sure because, I told her yesterday, there is no ARPA fund for the lights. And now you said there is ARPA fund, so for canal, so that's only for improvements. The 197,000, that was just for the improvement, not for the lights, so. As a clarification.
Okay, back to you, Commissioner Perrine.
I think that's all. I'd like to spend more time drilling down on our workshop by line item. This is just to prove the millage rate. So I did see those type of questions that jumped out at me when I was doing the line item analysis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate that. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. Shaliza, good afternoon. On page 27, the millage value at 4.6370 generates 28.6 million. What was that number in 2023? What was that number last year? How much did it generate?
So millage at 4.4, 2023, we were estimating $26 million.
The difference was 2.6 million.
Okay, thank you. And millage rate at an additional quarter mil is going to be 1.5 million, and a half is going to be 3.1. Page 7, evaluations of a home for $477,000. If we go up, I'm going to use just round numbers here. 10%. Save our homes. What is the actual increase for a homesteaded person in New Smyrna? Wouldn't be 10%, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We will only get out of that 10%, 25% will be ours, our cost.
Our cost, I'm not sure. So
Well,
my point
the cost
is
to
that when we
the-
increase to the taxpayer, let's say a 10% increase.
Okay.
Save our homes caps often at a 3% increase, right? So my point is, what I'm saying is, we go up a certain percentage, a homesteaded property would only go up 3% of whatever that is, if
Correct.
it's above 3%.
Correct.
Okay. And this is kind of out in the weeds. And I was kind of asking that question. I believe I know the answer to that, but there may have been some detail you could have clarified. So I'm always interested in the millage and where we are within the county of our 16 cities. We were always behind Ormond Beach. All the cities have experienced many of the same kind of costs that we have, which have made us have to increase our millage. What is Ormond, and I don't expect an answer from this, but I'm trying to understand what Ormond would have done differently, or how we jumped ahead of them when they were ahead of us. So I'm just kind of curious about that and wondering if there's, and I would guess it would be the ratio of commercial
Versus residential.
Because they've had a tremendous growth in commercial. So I'm assuming that that's going to be a significant reason why they have fallen behind us, or we have jumped ahead of them. But that to me is something very interesting to pay attention to with the context of what we're doing here, what we need to do, and the balance between commercial and residential taxes to the city.
It could be a couple of factors. I mean, that's one factor.
Yeah.
The other factor is it could be that they did not either do projects, or they did not purchase capital equipment or vehicles. So, you look at the amount of capital outlay and capital equipment that we purchased the last two years, plus the union negotiations have added the 0.22 for 3 years. So that really has kind of
And this is the
got
last.
us. So when you add 0.22 3 years in a row, I mean, obviously we will be higher than them.
And that ends this year. This is the last year.
Correct.
Okay, and we have 10 million above the 25%. If I understand correctly.
10.3.
We have $10 million above the necessary 25%.
Correct.
So we have a very healthy reserve, which I can't imagine will not help to offset some of the increases that we anticipate going in. At least that's what I would say. Thank you, Mary. I have no more questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. Hartman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sir.
So earlier, I believe you said that all the vehicles that were funded are new vehicles and not replacement vehicles. Is that correct?
No. I said anything that's new, I had new next to it.
Okay,
Everything else is replacements.
okay. On page 13, under fire, the alerting system upgrade,
Yes.
that's kind of a county mandate because they've improved on their alerting system and we're kind of required to follow through with that. So, just something to keep in mind that we keep getting these unfunded mandates from the county and the state, so.
Obviously, that is part of an upgrade to the countywide system. The county is paying for their portion of the bare bones, the box, basically the brains that are going into that system, all the infrastructure that goes to that. Getting it from that box out into the various rooms of the fire station is incumbent upon us to do that.
Right.
That's where that funding comes from. But they are paying their portion of it to get the bare bones, to all the 30-plus fire stations throughout the county.
Right, but had they not made any changes, we may not necessarily have done that.
Correct.
All right.
So 80 grand does not reflect the total cost.
It reflects our total cost.
Our total, but not the
total cost
initiative.
of the project, and it's throughout the county.
So in the unfunded request for the new position, the finance assistant in the fire department, all of those unfunded new positions, there's a recommendation for salary increases. Is that in additional to the across-the-board 3%, or in light, would that be on top of the,
They already included, Commissioner Hartman, the salary that you see, that includes the proposed 3%, and then they added the 5% to that.
okay. Right, yes, yeah, it's not fire department, yeah, I know, yeah. Sorry. I think that's all the questions I had. Now, looking forward to the workshops and when we really get into the meat of all of this.
Yeah, I want to thank the finance department for doing this job, and I'm grateful to, this is the start of a detailed process that we will certainly do some due diligence on, as you can tell by our glee about these numbers. On page 2, when we asked the question about the cost to the Brandon Center, cost of the golf course, those the net that you gave of $302,000 for Brandon and $278. How did you calculate the revenue? What assumptions did you make to make that offset work?
So the Leisure Services Director and I kind of worked on that together, and based on what activities they're expecting to do next year and ticket charges, that type of stuff. Golf course, mainly looking back at historical revenues, what they actually brought in.
Great, that gives me a lot more confidence. Very, very good. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Lee. You heard Commissioner Perrine light up when we talked about page 5, this percentage of 83.59 is on the residents' back, and the conversation about the potential for why Ormond has slid into the number 2 spot might be their other contributions through commercial. Can you get that? Can you check theirs, check their work, see if that's really what
I will
it is?
I will have that at the workshop for
Okay.
you. So
Yeah.
this way you could compare, because I don't think it's a lot higher than us, but I
Okay.
will
Be good.
get it for you.
Be good to know, City Commissioner Shanahan, you can get that from her, I'm sure. Because it is an initiative that we've talked about a lot, about our citizens sustaining 83% and how that is, tolerating the 83%, and how as cost of government goes up, it will not be sustainable for a healthy city. I'm on page 7, and so this is the average cost of a home or the mean?
Market
Median.
value.
Median.
Median market value.
Median or mean? And you don't have to
Median
answer.
market value.
Median. Oh,
Yes.
that's a more meaningful value. Well, that's good. That's much better than the mean. Excellent. It's the median, right? The largest group. Okay. Very good. That's helpful. That will mean more to more residents, even if they don't understand the math. And I like the display on page 8 of, it means $11.66 more this year than it did last year. 9, I like the comparison, understood about what's going on in Ormond. College, on page 10, you talk about you have spoke eloquently about how the reserve fund works, and been a good education for me. It's a floating fund, and sometimes paybacks do not occur in the same fiscal year.
Correct.
Expenses do not occur in the same fiscal year, and so we should expect that number to go up and down continuously
Yes, sir.
as we go. And just for clarity, and one more time for those watching, these 2 or 3 pages of funded outlay requests are to be discussed at our workshop, or candidates to be discussed at our workshop.
And just to be clear, the funded are included in the proposed
They're
budget.
in the budget.
that was
They are in the
submitted.
budget. That's right. They're in the budget, but we must approve them. The unfunded ones are not in the budget, but they fall lower on the priority scale according to the
Yeah.
department heads.
And even I asked the department heads to put that in a priority. So when you look at the unfunded, the top one is a priority. If we need to add, that's a priority as well, so.
And as I look at the unfunded, what I don't see is Flagler. I see the huge, nearly $3 million expense for streetlights on Canal and Atlantic. A prioritization that I'm not yet comfortable with. When I have not seen the dark areas of Atlantic, but I'll check those out. But I know
Flagler is
Canal-
already included. Flagler is underway.
Flagler's in there as funded?
Because we got the ARPA fund for it. So Flagler is, what she was talking about is South Atlantic.
Yeah.
So there's an item here under unfunded for 2.7 million.
I see it.
So Canal and South Atlantic, and Canal is 1.6 and South Atlantic is 1.1, and that add up to the 2.7 million.
The Flagler improvements and lights are in this year's budget.
Perfect.
So it's not for next year.
Excellent.
And it looks
Makes
like
me happy.
Jason
What part of South Atlantic are we talking
This is from Flagler to Fifth.
about? Okay,
The section that we
Yeah,
have improved
yeah,
back in,
okay, perfect.
We
the
also have
mid-2000s.
issues on North Atlantic, so I think that they're recognized.
Yeah, I'll check that out too, thanks. Going back to Vice Mayor Perrine's idea, which I really like about wouldn't it be marvelous if we didn't have to increase it at all? What a statement that would make for our residents. And if we could gamble on the reserve fund, that is appealing, but we need to dig deeper to find out what the consequences of that would be, I think. On the personnel side, for Director Kidd, please come prepared when we talk about those increases in pay. In government activities I've been with previously, there were merit increases as you got longevity. I understand we don't do that here anymore. And so I would love to know what the course of years has been since the last raise for each of those that were cited there, so that we're not gilding the lily, but we are doing what is right, if that makes sense to you. In other words, Randy asked the question: is this on top? Is the 5% increase on top of the 3%, making an 8% increase? And when was their last? My question is, when was their last increase, and the one before that? So if a employee has been here for 15 years and has not seen anything, that's one case. But if somebody's been here 15 years and every 3 years they get to 7 or 8%, that would be a different opinion from my chair
So,
of
Mayor,
what was right.
The last 2 years, every employee has gotten at least a 3% increase.
Which seems like that's been annual, yeah? That's like a COLA or something,
Correct.
right? I got that one
Correct.
cold. But I see there's a 5% pump in there for a couple positions, right? I'd just like to know the history of those positions, the people in there. Just so I can see, did they get one last year, the year before, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? When was the last one?
Okay.
That makes sense?
we'll do that. We'll do that
Okay.
at the workshop for you.
Thank you, sir. So your recommendation, City Manager, is for us to hone in on the 0.5 or 0.25 increase, and your stronger recommendation is the 0.25 as the ceiling. Doesn't mean that today, if we said that, we have to do that at the next meeting, but that would be the ceiling.
That would be the ceiling. You could go lower, as I mentioned, you could go lower to the lowest you want to, but you cannot go any higher. And I just want to point out one thing. The backbone of the city is the employees. And if we don't take care of the employees, we're losing employees because of the competition out there with other cities. My recommendation is specifically on page 26. I think we have to take care of, when we hire them at a low rate with the understanding that at some point I will adjust you. And I haven't done that. I have not done that because of the budget. So again, I do that because I know how these employees value to the city, and without these employees, they work behind the scenes, they do a lot of stuff above and beyond their job descriptions, all of them. The average person don't see that. I see it, and I feel it, and I appreciate it. So.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. And I don't mean by my comments to insinuate that we have anything but the best. I want to be fair and transparent for our residents to know that we don't gild the lily and just heap on top of that we are being fair and that we are adequately compensating in comparison to other cities. So Heather, that would be helpful if we knew what comparative cities were for those positions. Let's say Port Orange, Ormond, blah, blah, blah. And if you could help us with that, that would be good.
I was just going to sort of add, this is once again, is salary only. Because we also have to remember, every time we increase salary, we increase the retirement plan compensation. It's not just that dollar, and we are increasing the percentage every 3 years, if we did 3%, but leaving out the total cost of an employee. And I know in some places where salary might not be as good, but retirement could be fabulous. So we want to balance out
So
the
package
different parts.
comparisons, please,
Yes.
not just salary,
Thank
if that's
you.
okay. That's very helpful.
And we'll do that, Mayor, for you.
Okay.
My comments were not just to kind of, I guess, maybe add a recommendation to what I was thinking about, that specific sheet there, 26.
We know each of those players and the value they add. It's significant. Okay. Any follow-ups, any readdresses, reattacks? Okay. And so, Madam City Attorney, if you don't mind, would you read Resolution 4824 for consideration?
A resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, sunsetting the INS 2005 debt service, providing for conflicting resolutions and providing for an effective date.
All right, so this is to retire the debt service for 2005. Is there a motion to adopt 4824?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions about that? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
4824 has been adopted. And now, if you don't mind, ma'am, Madam City Attorney, 4924, please.
Resolution number 4924, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, establishing a proposed FY 24-25 INS 2018 debt service maximum millage rate, providing for conflicting resolutions and providing for an effective date. And the millage in this resolution is 0.0914.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. This is to set the debt service rate for the 2018 debt service to 0.0914. Any discussion on that? Any questions, clarity needed? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
4924 has been adopted. And now, ma'am, if you don't mind, Resolution 5024.
Resolution number 5024, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, establishing a proposed FY 24-25 general fund maximum millage rate, providing for public hearing dates for a budget adoption, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing for an effective date. And the millage rate included in this resolution as drafted is 4.637.
Is there a motion to adopt Resolution
moved.
5024? We have a motion and a second. Any?
Second.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir, please.
So this resolution is written based on the millage that I point, that this one here, but if you're going to add to it, you have to make the changes.
That was my question. At what point do we add either the 0.25, 0.5 of this here? Yeah?
Right
Okay.
now.
So
Right
let
now.
us discuss that some more. We have a motion and a second, and we can have a discussion. What is your feeling there, guys that have been here longer than we newbies? Where should we go?
So I'd rather see the max millage rate at 4.99 for the total.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I'm also interested in what the new people seem to think about this too. I can go with the 4.99 that city manager mentioned.
Knowing that we can dial it back, I don't care, so I could do 4.99. I don't expect it to land there. But I understand why we would choose 4.99. But with with a healthy reserve and some real close looking at what we're doing, I think we can dial it back when we adopt the final budget.
Yeah, and it's gonna have to do with how much, what people want in the budget, and that's what we're gonna work out.
Yeah.
We'll dial it back as much as we need to.
So with the knowledge that we can dial it back, I would go along with 4.99.
All right, that was your motion, and that's,
We haven't heard from Commissioner Perine.
Ellie, what do you think about that?
I'm not going to really go higher. I think we can dial back like Commissioner Martin said. I don't want to go 4.99. I don't want to go that high.
So that adds, at 4.99 is which of the millage increases? The 0.5?
No, that would be just roughly about the 0.25.
That would be. That brings it to 4.99.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to make it before, doesn't mean that you have, it doesn't mean that you
Yeah.
have to use the 4.99, it just gives you the
I'm with you.
flexibility.
That's the 0.25 increase.
Yep. it's
And Valley,
roughly-
that's the one you tried to second, right?
I seconded the 4.6370. I mean, the most I will do is the very minimum, the 0.25, but I don't even really want to do that. I would rather do the 0.1 or nothing at all, the 0 mil increase.
And Mayor, if you add the 0.25, it would be 4.887.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
I see it.
And that
I see it.
higher than I want to go. I'll go just a little bit to cover those wages that we accidentally missed. But I agree with our mayor. I think we need to have more information on the salaries. They're jumping a lot more than I've seen in a long time, and I don't have anything to justify that. If there's a huge discrepancy, I can see we could do that, but with what we have in funded, I was trying to add up that one page with the salary, see how much that is, because this 0.1 jumping from a 2.86 to 2.9.2, that should cover those wage increases.
Gotcha. So we're in a couple different places here. We've got, as we consider this for Resolution 5024, I think we'll need a motion with more specificity to either be at what?
You have a motion on the floor in
yeah.
a second
Yeah.
that it's at 4.7 or whatever it was.
Okay, let's clarify, Cliff, if we could.
Which is the .01 mil, the 4.7?
What's
The
what's
4.67 is the one that's on the floor.
Yeah.
4.637 with an increase of 0 mil is what's on the floor. May I amend the motion?
I think you made it, so I think you may.
Thank you. I'd like to amend the motion to adopt resolution number 50-24 with a 0.25 mil increase, taking it to 4.8870 maximum, absolute maximum millage increase.
Okay, that's the motion. There was a second to the previous one.
I'll second
And
the
it
amendment.
seconds that. Okay, so that's where we are. So Valley,
But as a point of, just as clarification, you already approved the 0.0914 increase on top of that already. You adopted the 2018 debt service. So you'd have to add that to the 4.887, correct?
Correct.
so that brings it to the 4.99.
But for this particular resolution, we don't use that total combined number.
Right.
Yeah,
This
but
resolution is
he's
just
wise
for
to
the
point that out.
operating
What does that bring it to? Carl, does that bring it to the 4.99 when you add that debt service?
I'm going to add to it now.
Thank you.
4.9784.
It's 4.9784. If you add the
The
debt
debt
service.
service, yeah. All right.
Just
4.9784. Thank you. Okay, so we know what the end effect is. We've been corrected by the city attorney that says that's not what's on the table, but that is the net effect. So everybody knows exactly what the second order implication is. But this motion is to increase by 0.25 for Resolution 5024. The new number for 5024 would be 4.8870. There's a motion, a second. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion on that? And I understand, Commissioner Perrine, you're saying no, 0.1 or no increase. That's your view, right?
I would just either go 0 or 0.1 to give us a little bit of a variance, because we can figure out a lot of this from our line item research.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman,
yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perrine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. 5024 is adopted
So what
with
was
the
the millage that was
0.25.
approved, just to clarify, because I got a report back?
0.25.
So you added the 0.25
Yes,
to
sir.
the 4 point,
Added
887.
0.24, added 0.25 to the 4.637 for a total of
4.8870, is that
4.8870.
what's 4.8870, Carrie?
Correct.
Okay.
So 5024 is adopted. Madam City Attorney, if you would read 5124, please.
Resolution number 5124, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, setting the proposed stormwater utility fee at $8.667 monthly or $104 annually per equivalent drainage unit, establishing the equivalent drainage unit for non-residential and multifamily properties, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve resolution 5124.
I will second for discussion.
Great, good. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Let's talk about it.
Considering the amount of flooding issues that we've had in the city, I would like to increase this a bit to get our stormwater fund in a better position to handle all the work we need to do to remediate and prepare for flooding issues. And as much as I hate the thought of increasing anything, when we have so many residents that are asking so much for help from flooding issues, such as, and we've got all of Corbin Park, and we have the historic West Side, and we have very little stormwater infrastructure on the beach side. We've got a lot of areas and a lot of work to do. And so I would propose raising this to $9.50 or $10 a month to get a better balance in our stormwater fund.
If I may, Mayor, the increase that we have is a CPI increase, which means we have gone through the public hearings on it. If you need to increase additional to that, I think you have to have public hearings.
It would be an ordinance revision.
Thank you for that clarification. Then that would end my discussion of this, but I would request that we look at making an ordinance for it.
So where I don't disagree with you, I think we could address that by doing a fund transfer from the general fund into the stormwater fund, or a certain project going down as we go through the process.
Well, it's a moot point since we can't do
Right.
anything with it tonight anyway.
But I think what she's asking is the increase in the stormwater utility fee, I think for future projects, not just one project, and I think she's just planning ahead.
Building reserve, yeah. But it's a moot point. We can't do anything with it tonight anyway, so so I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to set the stormwater utility fee at 8.667 per month, or $104 a year. Any more discussion? Any clarity needed? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Me? Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. 5124 has been adopted. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution 5224? And I'm unclear as to what 5224.
So this is unrelated to the proposed FY 24-25. It's a budget amendment that we normally see on our consent agenda.
This is for fiscal year 23-24, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So moved.
A motion,
Second.
a second. Any discussion or need for clarity?
Under discussion in the future, I'd like to see a staff report on
Yeah.
exactly what, it just says it's replacing the air conditioner. Did it die? Is it quit? Is it need of repair? Is it under warranty? There was no staff report attached to that, so.
I think this one just came in kind of on a rush, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I just think in the future, that would be helpful to understand the reasoning behind it.
Absolutely, I concur 100%, and this typically wouldn't be here if it wasn't a emergency purchase.
Assume so.
This is for one of the ACs on the Brandon Center. There's 4 units, and one of them is totally not functional. It's died 100%. So this is funding, transferring from some CIP projects that had access and POs that were closed out to fund that purchase immediately in this current fiscal year.
Okay.
Director Salazar, did we replace one earlier this year for the Brandon Center?
Yes, we did.
This is 2 of the 3?
There's 4 units?
4?
Yes, sir.
Any, do we know why it failed? Good. Maintenance ops to the rescue. Thank you, Kevin.
Wait, does this mean it's not freezing in the Brandon Center at the moment?
Yes, I've noticed that. It's not.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Just for clarity, the units that we're talking about are 12 years old. Expected life cycle on these types of units is about 15 years before we really start to see catastrophic failure. Because they're positioned outside, exposed to the elements, we are seeing that timeline accelerated a little bit. When the one died last year, it was a 15-ton. So we did an analysis of all of them. We put a recommendation out at that time that we should actually budget for every year for the next 4 years to replace a 15, a 25, a 15, and a 25, so that they're not all the exact same age. And we are purchasing, I'm going to mess the name up, but a coating on them to extend the life. Yeah, I can't remember the exact name of it, but to try and actually get us to that 15 to 18-year range moving forward. But we recommended it. It's just so happened that they are now, we're getting them serviced regularly, which could in fact be because we're in there messing around with them. You know this, Mayor?
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
So just to add, this replacement, to echo what Kevin said, would have been in fiscal year 25, but because of the priority, we're pushing it to now and using funding this current year.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Rob. Thank you. Okay, motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any comments from the commission? We'll go up and down the line. Commissioner Perine.
No, I think what would be beneficial in our workshop, though, we just approved 1.5 million over for the millage, is to put the impact if we end up using that, or how that equals to our property tax payments, like an estimate increase. That helped last year. We had that, and they saw that it was really only going to be like $100 or whatever we end up going with that a year for an average house of like the 477 median range. If we just add in what that impacts their average property tax bill would be beneficial.
Okay, with a nodding of the head, that'll happen. Thank you. Any other comments, ma'am? Thank you very much. Commissioner Hartman.
No, just to hope you all had a safe and good summer. It's good to be back. It's going to be interesting, I'm sure, during the next couple of months.
Absolutely. Commissioner McGurk.
Look forward to the budget process, always do, and we'll come to, I'm confident we'll find a middle ground to settle in at.
Perfect. Commissioner Martin.
I'm good, thank you.
So just reminders, August 1st, public meeting at the Brandon Center, 5 p.m. To discuss and learn what our parking consultant has to say. The commission workshop, 7th of August, it's a Wednesday, starts at 9, goes to 4 to do budget. And then the regular city commission meeting Tuesday, August 13th, right here in the chamber at 6:30. Mr. City Manager, anything from you, sir?
Just want to thank all the department heads and the finance department, in particular, Shaliza and her staff. And also we welcome Kenneth. He came in late in the game, but he's catching up with us. This is not an easy process when you do the budget. It's a very intense, very complicated. But at the end of the day, I think, normally we try to do the best we can in terms of the funds that we have available. So I'm going to keep in mind, I'm a taxpayer, so in a month I will be out of this dais and I will be paying taxes. So I want to make sure that I don't pay that much. So thank you.
We would expect to see you at public participation regularly, sir.
I will be at your budget workshops for sure.
Madam City Clerk, anything from you, ma'am?
No, sir.
Madam City Attorney?
No, sir.
Very well. With that said, we're adjourned.